Welcome to Double Fries No Slaw, our morning show, Tuesday morning. We've been doing this now. Was this our fourth one? Is this 4 weeks now that we've been doing this? The first one wasn't really live, but kind of fake live when we were out in London. And then have done it every week since. And one of these days, maybe it's my fault. Maybe the reason we haven't started super well is because we've been doing these morning shows. But one way or the other, we're going to keep doing them. And hopefully Florida State will get things turned around. Appreciate Decadent, a coffee and dessert bar, for their support. And again, talked with them yesterday and excited to get you guys some coffee, hopefully coming up here soon. We might be a little quicker today, but I do want to say next week, I think I want to do call-ins on this show. I don't know exactly how that would work. I don't know if you guys can call. Can you guys call in at 9 a.m.? Is that even possible? Or should we just do a call-in show at night when people can call in a little more often? I don't know. I'm open to anything. But I thought about trying to give away some coffee. Like whoever was the best call or whoever had the best comment or whatever, we could give away some coffee. So they're working on that for us now. I appreciate the folks over at Decadent. We've talked about their locations. Modesto, California, Warner Robins, Georgia, if you're out in that area, 1056 Highway 96, Suite 200, and then Fulton, Maryland. They've got other locations that are going to be popping up. Excited to tell you guys more about them at some point, but we will we'll let some people get in here. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. You can't comment if you're not subscribed. So that's actually my favorite feature that YouTube ever set up. If you're going to troll, you at least have to be subscribed to us. Which is always funny to think about. Like the trolls come in and you're subscribed to an FSU French Fry podcast. So, and then we'll try and take some questions too. Like I do appreciate you guys always hitting the questions. Of course, we'll hit all the super chats, but we'll hit any questions that are super relevant as well. Tailgate this weekend, there's not, unfortunately. I can't make it up this weekend. I'm traveling next weekend and the weekend after for Clemson. And then actually my wife's out of town the next weekend after that. And so there's just too much going on, unfortunately, to make a tailgate happen this weekend. The Battle's Inn does one, and I know that people are upset and not wanting to spend a bunch of extra money on different things, but I think you get in the Battle's Inn tailgate for much cheaper than ours. They obviously charge a membership to get in, but then you can get in for, I think, $15. So would certainly say to go check them out. They do a great job. They've got as much as I want you to come tailgate with us, I'm not trying to sell what we do short, but their manpower and their budget is a little different than ours. And so, yeah, they do a phenomenal job. They can charge a cheaper price to get it done and still put on a pretty good event. So you may not be happy with the way things look on the field, but the Battle's Inn does a great job with their tailgate. So I would certainly recommend that. They've got more food, more booze and stuff than we do, so check them out. All right, let's talk quarterbacks. I think that's probably the most pressing thing, and I have long been of this belief, and I still believe this, when it comes to DJU or a young guy or what Norvell should do. I have long been of the belief that we should keep DJU at quarterback, and don't shoot me, right? Like I'm not trying to upset people like first thing here, but I think I've moved off that, I'll still echo the point that I think as bad as he's been, DJU probably gives you the best chance to win like on Saturday, right? Like against Cal, DJU probably is your best chance to win the game. Right. So I can say that. That said, I don't know how much it matters anymore because I don't know how important like individual wins or losses are anymore. I've talked with Richie about this. Like I thought there was a difference between like 7-5 and 3 and 9. And I do still agree with that. Like Florida State fans don't want to go 7-5. I get that, but you get to 7 wins. You kind of turn things around a little bit. You make a bowl. You win that bowl game. You get to 8 wins. Like it would certainly still be underwhelming, but you could probably sell that as like, hey, we came back. Now I talked with Richie on Sunday. I think your floor and your ceiling are under a bowl. Now they could come out and certainly prove me wrong, but I mean, if you just think about this. they're probably going to be pretty big dogs to Clemson, Notre Dame, and Miami, right? So let's just say that it's going to be pretty tough to win any of those 3 games. So there's 6 losses there, right? If you lose anywhere else, you miss a bowl, right? And are you confident in thinking that Florida State can go beat Cal, SMU, Duke, Carolina, Charleston Southern, and Florida? Like I want to believe the very best about this team, but I'm not confident they can go win those 6 games. I'm not confident they can win half of them based on what we saw on Saturday. But I'm not super confident that they're going to make a bowl anyway. And so what's the difference between 5-7 and 3-9, I think DJ probably gives you a better chance to win. I think it's more about next year at this point. It's more about just finding out what you've got for the future. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and Brock Glenn comes in or Luke Kromenhoek comes in and does give you a much better chance to win. I don't necessarily think so. I think you've got so many other issues, and I don't even think quarterback is at the top of them. I think your linebackers are probably at the top. I know Juice had a good day and Blake had an okay day. Not having either of your starting tackles is a bigger issue than quarterback to me. There's a lot of problems on this team. I think coaching's been underwhelming. Talked about this on Sunday, and I'll bring it back up. But yeah, so I think it's not necessarily that you think Brock's going to come in and light things up and get better. I just think it's this year's over, and so you need to kind of see what you got for next year. All right. I think that, Brock maybe comes in, and I'm not even thinking that it'll be – I'm not even thinking that it's going to look better, right? Like it might look worse with Brock, like as scary as that sounds. However, I don't know that how much of this season still matters. Now, all that said, DJU comes out and you beat Cal, and then you go on the road and beat SMU, and you get back to 2-3. Then I think you start to think like, okay, maybe there is a path to a bowl. I still think you lose to Clemson. I still think you lose to Miami and Notre Dame. But you're going to beat Charleston Southern. That's your 3rd win. You should beat Duke, I think. Carolina is a toss-up. Florida's a toss-up, right? So if you win a couple toss-ups, you could maybe get back to a bowl. I don't know. If you beat Cal with DJU, you probably keep rolling them out there. I don't know. DJU gives you the best chance to win. Luke and Brock are probably you need to kind of know what you have for the future. So that's my I do think DJ is an issue. Sorry, that my point at all has not been to say that DJ is not an issue. I don't think he's the main. I think there are say it again. There are so many issues with the team that you could fix DJ and your team still can't tackle anybody. Your defensive line isn't what you thought it was. Your offensive line is not what you thought it was and banged up. Your wide receivers can't get any separation, can't get open. Your coaching decisions have been very weird. Linebacker play is atrocious. So you could fix, even if Brock Glenn was an upgrade, which I don't think he is, or Luke was an upgrade, which I don't necessarily think he is this year. I still think there's enough wrong with the team that it's not a huge upgrade overall. Like I don't think your team gets way better because you put, Luke or Brock in. I don't think the offensive line just all of a sudden, learns how to block or, starts playing better there. That said, if Norvell wanted to move on, that's fine. I've seen people throw out the idea of like, is Norvell kind of trying to pull a fast one with the depth chart and maybe he'll start Brock, but he put DJ at the top so that Cal couldn't prepare. I don't know how much Cal would. I mean, maybe Brock's mobility a little bit would be something you kind of have to watch out for if you're Cal. But I don't know how much that really matters. Here's the big thing so here was a frustration for me from Saturday. One of probably a billion. When we actually, we came out in the first half last week, and I talked about this with Richie too, so sorry to repeat myself. But I went back and rewatched it just to make sure that I wasn't crazy. And so I'm going to echo this point, and I'm sorry for repeating this. Why we threw 7 billion screens to start the game just is completely beyond me. When we started pushing the ball down the field, obviously you had the long pass on the play action, to open up your drive of the third quarter. And then on your very next drive, you started pushing it down the field and you had nice completions to Benson, nice completion to Hakeem caught one, Darian Williamson caught one, Kyle Morlock caught one. So when you started, you had back-to-back drives of 70 plus yards, 75-yard drive and a 71-yard drive. And then you didn't really get, I mean, you got the ball back late. DJ got sacked a couple of times and it just didn't work out, right? That's fine. That drive was over quickly and you move on. But why they didn't do that in the first half, like to me, that's on Norvell, right? And I love Norvell. I'm not saying that you need to fire him. I feel like you got to preface that every time because half the fan base wants him fired. And so whatever. But I just, it didn't make a lot of sense to me why, with the benefit of hindsight, right? Like when DJ was starting to push the ball down the field a little bit, they moved it. And I know he's not super accurate. I know he had struggles in that Boston College game, but same thing against Georgia Tech. He completed those third and fourth downs on that last drive. Like when they've pushed the ball down the field, the offense has been like somewhat manageable. Now, again, maybe I talked with Clay Fink yesterday. Maybe they overcorrected a little bit by trying to not have him throw so much or trying to have him throw short passes. But I mean, if Norvell just lets DJ push the ball down the field in the first half against Memphis like he did in the second half, we probably score one more time and probably win the game. And so that was frustrating to me that they refused to do that. I thought the defensive effort was better. You gave up 20 points, 2 of those on field goals on short fields. I thought the defensive effort was better. You essentially held Memphis to 14 points. I think that's pretty good. Memphis is a good offense that is going to put up 14. Like Memphis plays, any other ACC team tomorrow, they're probably scoring a touchdown or 2, right? Like, so I didn't think the defensive effort was terrible. So yeah, I don't know. If I'm Norvell, I don't necessarily want to throw the ball 45 times like he did against Boston College, but I do think that pushing the ball down the field a little bit was something that could have helped this team a ton to start that Memphis game. And when he finally started doing it in the second half, it worked, right? And now they only kicked a field goal the second time. I get it, but you went 146 yards in 2 drives. 75 and 71, and you were moving the ball. Now, they're still slower than a snail. They are incredibly slow at moving as an offense, and that's fine, right? Like, get it right, I guess. But, man, just push the ball down the field a little bit. It feels like if you do that, like, if you're going to leave DJ in, like, at least give him a chance. Stop throwing 86 screens to start a game. Like, that's just not what this offense is built to do. Why you have Ja'Kai Douglas out there blocking and it ends up getting Jaylen Brown injured. It doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But anyway, all right, I'll answer some questions and then we'll move on. Again, appreciate Decadent Coffee and Dessert Bar for their support. Most of you listening probably are closest to the Warner Robins location. Again, if you're in Maryland or Modesto, California, go check them out. But Warner Robins, 1056 Highway 96, Suite 200 there in Warner Robins, Georgia. Go check them out if you're anywhere close to that location. Again, excited to partner with them this year. And again, maybe we'll do a call-in show, something like that next week. Maybe give the best caller to a free bag of coffee or just people that participate. We'll figure it out. So appreciate them for their support. We're going to have some other ways that you can partner with them here coming up in the future. Keep you updated on that. All right, let's look through some questions, see if there's anything good. Revenge Tour has now become a salvage operation. Yeah, I don't know how much of this season can be salvageable. Here's the other thing I'll ask you. All right, so sorry, I said I'd answer questions, and then I want to kind of get into this. Remember how like every year, like growing up, maybe not growing up, but like growing up, you'd hear people say like, man, if we go 1-12, but that one win is against Florida, like then the season's okay. Well, we're really going to test that this year, aren't we? Like that's going to be like something we're actually going to try to see like if we can do that. Right now, I think we beat Charleston Southern. I think we probably pick up a win or 2 more along the way. But that is actually kind of crazy to think about. Like, you've said that for years. Like, well, as long as we beat Florida, then the season's a success. I'd rather beat Florida and lose all the rest of them. That looks like something we might try to do this year. So, which would be not great. So, all right, the players have to play better. Mike, I agree. I do think. Oh, here's a good one from Sir Seminole. Mike, I agree. When you look at all of the former players that talk about stuff like now, I think Florida State does have coaching deficiencies. I think they have coaching deficiencies, and I think tied in with that, a coach's job is also to recruit, and they have recruiting deficiencies. That said, when it comes out to actually going out and playing, like these coaches that won 23 games over 2 years, like didn't just forget how to tell people how to play. Is there probably some improvement that could happen on the coaching side? Absolutely. But when you look at former players talking about this game and talking about how Florida State has looked. Like they all say, like this is on the players. Like they've got to get better, and I agree. I think the players have to step up and play better. Defensively, I think they did a little bit this week. Offensively tough with your best two tackles out. It would certainly be some FSU kind of luck to lose, your best tackle. Well, I don't know if he's been the best this year, but your best tackle coming into the year in pregame warmups. Like, what in the world is that? Hopefully, you get one or both of them back. If you get both of them back this week, yeah, I think you've got a decent chance against Cal. If you don't have either of them back, I mean, I don't see a way to win. Does Alex coming back make any difference this weekend? I mean, maybe a little bit, maybe a tad, right? I tend to think that is a little bit overblown, right? And I'm not trying to be super negative on that. Maybe everything I say is super negative since I've been in Dublin, but whatever. I tend to think that it has less of an impact than people want it to have. Gabe Fertitta kind of has taken over that role. I think he does a phenomenal job. I really like that offensive line room and just in general, like kind of the way that they operate as a unit. They've played Memphis, Boston College, and Georgia Tech, right? 3 teams with not good defensive lines, and they've gotten mauled in all of them, right? And some of that's due to injury, Washington Byers being out. I understand that. But you've played 3 really bad offensive lines, and it's not like Alex would come in and be able to make changes or go to different people that Gabe or Mike are not already doing. It's not like Alex would come in and remind guys hey, you're supposed to block on this situation or you're supposed to block the we've been terrible pulling, the guards that pull for a counter or stretch or whatever, have been so bad. It's not like Alex is going to be hey, reminder, you're supposed to block this guy. They're doing that all week in practice. So I don't, honestly, I know that sounds terrible. I don't think much. Now, maybe slightly, that takes some responsibility off Norvell's plate. Maybe lets Norvell focus a little bit more on XYZ, maybe. But I'm if you ranked things that were a problem through the first 3 weeks of the season, and you assigned blame, I don't know, I'm maybe putting 5% on Atkins not being there. 10 max, right? That feels extreme to me. I'd blame a lot of other things other than Alex not being there because he is there through the week and he is game planning. He is he's not doing that much adjusting in game because the guys you have out there, right? So I know that maybe isn't the answer we want to hear, but yeah, I don't think it's as big of a deal. Now, maybe they come out and score 45 points this weekend and we give Alex the game ball. I doubt it, but I think less than we think. Unfortunately, Revenge Tour. Good morning for Columbia, South Carolina. Oh man. So my best man at my wedding is a big Gamecocks fan. And so I hurt a little bit, watching them blow that game the other day and watching the refs steal it from them. I think we squeak out a win this week. I don't know if I can predict FSU to win again. I mean, we'll do a live show tomorrow night and we'll certainly predict it. But it's funny to me. It's funny to me that Vegas continues to make us a favorite. I don't really understand why. I mean, at the end of the day, they have way more talent than Cal. They have way more talent than any other team that they've played so far. It's just whether or not they actually play like it. Love to try their coffee. It's got to be better than FSU's play. It definitely is. What if we don't beat Florida? If we don't beat Florida, I don't know, par for the course. Florida's better than Memphis, I think. So maybe not. Maybe Memphis would win that. Can't coach effort. Completely agree. If we only get one win, I'd rather it be Miami this year. I agree. Oh man, so I remember in 2016, I was pretty down on the team because you got blown out by Louisville. You got blown out by, or not blown out, but you lost that North Carolina game. And then you had to play Miami the next week. And I went down with a buddy. It was his birthday weekend. And I was just in a terrible mood the whole week. And man, there's no way we're going to win this. Miami was good that year. They had Kaya. No chance we can win this. And then we found a way to do it. So I don't know, maybe that's kind of what we can do against Miami. Maybe we'll have a little bit of luck or success, but that I'm not looking forward to the Miami game at all. No pressure on the other team's quarterback. Yeah, I mean, a big problem with no pressure is that we're not winning first and second down. So like on third and short, if they're in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, which they've been converting a lot of those too, don't get me wrong, but most of the time they're not in those situations. They're in like 3rd and 3 or 3rd and 4. So the run is an option for them. The quick pass is an option. Like if it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9, they gotta, it takes time to get down the field, 9 yards down the field. We aren't forcing them into 3rd and longs very often. And so, yeah, there's no pressure because they don't need to drop back into a 5-7 step drop. So they're not winning the early downs to even force themselves into pressure. A little bit better this week against Memphis. Again, that's a group of 5 team. I don't know how much you can take away from that. Although I think Memphis and Cal are pretty comparable. I don't think Memphis is like way better than Cal is, or Cal is way better than Memphis. Like, Florida State, if Florida State's defense, as bad as I have ragged on effort and guys that held you hostage over the portal or linebacker play or anything else, like I do think Florida State's defense was better this week. I certainly don't think they were great by any means, but at the end of the day, they give up 14 points, right? Give up 20 because of the 2 short fields. But I thought Florida State's defense was better this week. Time for a youth movement. I'll run through some questions here in a minute, but time for a youth movement. Did you see the Free My Youngins by Lester on Instagram? I'm sure you've seen that. Commented on, was it Elijah Moore? I forget whose post it was on. But yeah, they I think they should go to the youth for the same reason that I think they should go to Glenn or Krummenhoek, because I don't think that there's much to salvage from this year. Now, if you win a couple of games, you upset somebody, you get back to a bowl. I mean, yeah, you'd certainly rather go to a bowl than not. But I mean, I don't think FSU, like if I offered you right now, like, 6-6, like, I mean, I guess you'd take that over 2-10. But I don't know how much FSU fans really care about that. Going to some lame bowl that happens before Christmas, like who even cares, right? And so, yeah, I want to say like you need to start playing some young guys. Number one, to see what you got in them, to see what they look like. There's going to be mistakes. There's going to be screw-ups. Also, to keep them engaged, right? Guys, these are 1 year. These are 1 year deals, right? With the portal, with the way that NIL works and stuff now. You need to not only see what you've got so that you can know what you're investing in this upcoming year for 2025, but you need to keep them somewhat engaged. Guys, if they don't feel like they're playing or they don't think they're going to get played, whether or not they will or wouldn't the next year, like they'll just leave. Like they'll just put their names in the portal and quit. Like this is not like, oh, you can just redshirt them and they'll be here next year. Like this isn't the 90s or early 2000s anymore. Like, so yeah, I think you probably need to start playing some younger guys. Because they'll just quit on you, right? I'm not saying I know of anybody specific that's like looking to transfer or anything else like that, but guys will just quit on you now. Like Florida is going to see a roster exodus. Florida State is going to change some coaches, and they've not been very good this year, and they're going to have some guys tampered with, and you're going to have to either pay up or you're going to lose them. I think you need to play some of your younger guys and start doing that now. There's going to be more mistakes. It's not going to be pretty, but I think you need to get some guys some playing time to see what you've got for next year. I would rather, Sir Seminole says it, rather see reps from guys like that. I would rather see reps. I mean, I'd rather see Charles Lester out there. I don't necessarily know that Charles Lester is ready. I don't know that, and your DBs have been fine, right? I'm not saying that you just bench. Your cornerbacks have played up and down, but mostly fine, right? So I'm not saying that you just bench those guys, but I'd like to see those guys get some reps. I'd like to see Landon Thomas out there. I'd like to see Elijah Moore out there. I'd like to see Loane McCoy out there. I don't know how much these 1 year rentals that you brought in, or even your older guys on the roster, Kentron, Darion, fine, they're fine, right? But like, put the young guys out there and see what you've got for the future. Because again, I think this year is kind of over, right? I don't know how much this year truly matters for 2024 anymore. Let's look at some questions. Norvell needs to make changes. Whole season should just be Miami prep. Unfortunately, though I agree with that, I don't even know how much it would matter. I said this the other day, and I still kind of believe it. Like, I love football. Like, I love watching football. I watched last night's game. I'll watch whatever Thursday night games. I think there's another good one on Friday night. And then I'll watch all day on Saturday, right? And so, but like watching Florida State right now, like, is not enjoyable. Like, there's nothing fun about watching FSU. Like, it's not even an enjoyable experience. And I'm not telling you not to watch. I mean, I'm going to watch. We're going to talk about it afterwards. But it's not fun. Like, it's not, even in 2021, the Notre Dame game was fun to watch. Like, the Louisville game, like, they were down a bunch and then came all the way back. That was fun to watch. The Syracuse game, walk-off field goal, you scored 33 points. Miami, you won that game. Florida was a 3-point game. NC State, when everybody had the flu, like, that one wasn't fun. But there were some really fun games to watch. Like, right now is not necessarily fun. The offense is atrocious. The defense played better this week, but the defense has not been great. The offense, even when they are doing things well, moves at an absolute snail's pace, and they're getting beat down by teams that are worse than them. Like, what part of Saturday is enjoyable to watch right now? And I think at least watching some of the young guys, like at least watching some of I think that would be somewhat enjoyable because you'd understand that you were watching it for next year. And I think Norvell has to realize that. Like, he has to realize, like, he is losing the fan base. He's losing the donor base. He's losing just trust and faith that he's built up over the last couple of years. And hopefully that would instill some changes, both on the staff, both on the roster, just the way that he approaches the game. Listen, I would rather see DJU throw 17 straight incompletions down the field than see one more screen pass this year. Like, that's not an exaggeration. Like, air it out, because at least for the 4 seconds that the ball is in the air, I'm excited about what could be more than a screen pass. Like, I don't want to see another screen pass for the rest of the year. And so help me if we throw a screen pass to start the game against Cal. I hope it's a pick six. Like, I actually don't hope it's a pick six. Like, I would never cheer against our team. But, like, my God, if we don't stop with that crap, like, at least give me the excitement of a downfield pass one time, Actually, no, not when they do it, they've been good at it, right? DJ's not the most accurate. I get it. But, yeah, throw the ball down the field. Stop with the screen passes. That's my no more screens hashtag. Exactly. I swear to God, he'll throw one to open up the game just for me. He'll call it TJ. Double fries, no screens. That's the new podcast show. I had a really good conversation with Clay Fink over on the national channel. I would certainly suggest you go watch that when this is over, if you haven't seen it already, just about some of the stuff that is going on in practice that is somewhat frustrating. I've heard from some other people too, like, man, the lack of focus, the lack of intensity, the lack of leadership, just all kind of startling. I don't think you can necessarily make people who aren't vocal leaders into vocal leaders, but that's certainly on the staff to have not figured out that was going to be a thing, that you didn't have guys that could, like, kind of rise up and lead. Obviously, it seems like Shaheem Brown was suspended last game. There were rumors of that floating around, and then Norvell was asked about it, and he said, "No, I expect Shaheem to be back." I spoke with some people that were at practice, and it seems like he wasn't practicing fully. And so, yeah, I know Norvell probably doesn't want to talk about that. I have no idea what it was for, but man, you're one guy that is kind of a leader on the team getting suspended. I don't know how much Shaheem makes a massive difference, because I thought the defense was pretty fine anyway. But yeah, you just can't have that. You lose a leader on offense in Darius, and you lose a leader on defense in Shaheem, and you come out and get beat by Memphis. Like, I don't know what to. I mean, guys just don't seem focused. There are some guys on this roster that legitimately should not be playing anymore, and I'll maybe save that for another episode before I just trash kids or whatever. But there are kids on this roster that have very little effort, and their results on the field are somehow worse. And I think Norvell, like, you got to stop playing politics. Like, there are guys who have practiced legitimately horribly, and they're still starting. I don't necessarily need to name names, but you can look around and think about, like, what politically might motivate a staff to continue to play people, whether that's stubbornness over a bad take, or just family or whatever, or money, NIL, I don't know, but there's some things that need to change pretty immediately with the roster. I think Lolo Hea needs to start. I'll say that. You can read between the lines there. Then I think that needs to be a thing. His motor is really good. I like the way that Daniel Lyons has played. And again, I think I thought Pat Payton and Josh Farmer played a little bit better this week, and I liked their intensity. I liked their effort. I don't think the defensive, as much as we've talked crap about the defensive line, I actually thought it was better this week. Linebackers were a little bit better. Defensively, I think you played pretty well. You gave up 14 points. If you do that again, if you give up 14 points to Cal, you certainly could lose 11-14 because we seem enamored with 2-point conversions, weirdly. Yeah, if you can hold Cal to 14, then I think you have a pretty good chance to win. I think, I think that what did Cal score on Auburn? Right, 21. Cal Auburn, and I think you probably like your defense just as much as Auburn's. Right, I don't think they're great either. So yeah, I think you could certainly go out and hold Auburn under 20. Can your offense get there? Oh, I'm sorry. Hold Cal under 20. Can your offense get there? But yeah, that conversation with Clay was really, really good. I think after the pod is over, if you're watching it live, I don't think we can link it at the end. But I do think at the end of if you're watching on replay, I think we can link it over, or I can make it the pinned comment. So if you come right back to the video or just hit refresh at the end, we'll make it a pinned comment. Let me look through a couple more questions and then we'll keep going. Curse of FSU, go back to the old logo. Hilarious. Outside of these 2 years with Verse, compared his record with Willie Taggart is worse than everyone this chat ran him out of town. Yeah, Willie was an absolute dumpster fire behind the scenes. He deserved to go. I understand that, Norvell's record outside of these couple of years, but those couple of years did happen. So you can't just say outside of those couple of years, because Norvell was the coach those couple of years. He brought in the talent. Taggart was, part of the reason Norvell's record was what it was because of the dumpster fire that Taggart left behind. So, Norvell's certainly been bad at times, but yeah, I'm certainly going to put him well ahead of Taggart. I will say this. The other thing, somebody also said that you doubt we see changes. I think we will, right? And I put a tweet out the other day just about how, Michigan had a really bad year. I think they fired 60% of their staff. Notre Dame had a bad year. They fired Michigan did 60%. Notre Dame fired 40% of their staff after a bad year, and then they kind of turned it around pretty quickly. I would be pretty surprised if Norvell doesn't move on from at least 3 coaches, if not more. I'd say you probably could stand to move on from anywhere from 4 to 6. You probably could do more than that, but I just don't know if you want that much turnover in one off season. But yeah, I think what do you got? 10, 11 on-field coaches, so quarterback, running back, tight end, wide receivers, offensive line, end, tackle, linebacker, secondary. Am I missing one? Is it just 9? I'd say you could probably move on from 4 or 5, and you'd be totally fine. You could upgrade at a lot of places. Sucks to talk about people getting fired. They are humans. Don't necessarily think anybody on this staff is a bad person, but I do think. At the end of the day, you get paid a lot of money to not suck. And right now, some of these staff members are not performing very well. They haven't performed very well recruiting. We have a lack of talent at a lot of positions. You know what they are. And you'll get a nice buyout, and you'll certainly get another job somewhere else. Norvell, I'll say this and then we'll go. Norvell taking the blame. That doesn't really bother me a lot. Good coaches take the blame even when their players are just terrible. Now, Norvell certainly deserves a lot of blame for the way this roster was constructed and the way that they weren't able to capitalize on winning 10 and 13 games. But the actual play on the field, he's just going to take the blame. He's not going to throw his coaches or players under the bus. So I don't have a huge problem with that. So, hey, Decadent Coffee and Dessert Bar. Make sure that you check them out if you're anywhere near the Warner Robins, Georgia area, and we are excited again. If you guys want to do a call-in show, again, if you if you think that that'd be a good idea, don't comment it in the live comment because I can't see that after the show's over. Go comment that in the real comments. Like, so hit refresh after the game or after the show and tell me if you'd like to see that in a or like to do a call-in show sometime in the future. We'll get you guys some coffee. We'll figure out a way to do some giveaways with them. Excited about that. Again, go check out the What's Wrong convo with Clay over on the national channel if you haven't seen that already. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I like doing these morning shows. I always say they're going to be 20, 25 minutes, and they like 40. Well, today was 35, so that's not too bad. But appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon. It's going to get better, I hope. If not, we'll be here to complain about it and do group therapy with you. So appreciate you guys a ton. Go Noles.